What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Hits Different, hosted by yours truly, Riley Nelson. It is spooky season, and everybody that knows me knows that I love Halloween. This is my time to shine as a makeup artist. I thought it'd be fun to dress up for the Halloween edition of this episode. So if you guys cannot already tell, I am a vampire. Hopefully you can see it in the video. I can't really see from here, so I have no idea. But I had these like cute little rhinestones. I'm like a glam vampire. But I'm a mix of I'm a mix of vampire between Vampire Diaries and Twilight. I don't know if you can see and the camera's like translating it, but I have I sprayed glitter spray all over my face. So maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. I'm glittering, just like Edward Cullen. But yeah, so we did the eyes and, we got the blood dripping and everything. I didn't have fake blood, so red lipstick was going to have to do. But as a makeup artist, this is my favorite time of the year. I love to get to be creative and get to try new things. And it's the one time a year that I can do whatever I want and no one's gonna look at me like I'm crazy because everybody knows it's Halloween. So it's the time of the year where as a makeup artist, I actually get to have fun because every other day I'm just doing like basic glam looks and there's nothing wrong with that. They're very beautiful, but it gets a little boring whenever it's on repeat. So I love when I have the creative freedom and I get to do what I want. So anyways, today's episode is going to be a spooky episode of This Hits Different. I'm going to tell you guys my personal experiences with the other side, with the other realm, the other worlds, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to tell you guys my personal stories. Before I jump into that, real quickly, I'm just going to do a quick little plug. If you have not already, go join the Patreon. Patreon. It is going to be under $5 a month. It's literally less than a coffee for content. In the Patreon, I have a group chat where you can recommend artists, where we can connect and start a community. I really need your help too with coming up with a name for the listeners of this podcast, because I want to have Call Her Daddy has Daddy Gang, and Girls Gotta Eat has Snack Heads, and there's with like communities and things like that, they have fun little names, and I want to give us a name, and maybe rockers. I don't know. I've been trying to what's up my rockers? That's kind of cute. What's up my music enthusiast? Even though I don't really know what's going on with the podcast right now. I don't know. I think rockers could be kind of fun. Headbangers. Hi, my little headbangers. Hi, headbangers. What's up, my headbangers? Okay, that one's kind of fun. I'm just testing things out. Regardless, there is community on the Patreon. Like I said, it's under $5 a month. With that, you get more content. You get bonus content. You get ad-free episodes. And we're going to have a community there, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to get bonus content. So go join the Patreon and let's go have some fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode with Lotto Marie. It was not only a really funny episode, but it was really real. And I didn't know what to expect having her come on. I didn't even do an outline. I just knew that we were going to shoot the shit and bounce things off of each other. But I really loved the direction it went in because it was real. And not only did we get real stuff, but we also got some funny moments, but we got some serious things, and we got to touring and, life as a comedian and all that. And I don't know, I thought it was really cool. So yeah. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the episode. Before I do, I want to go ahead and say a big thank you to Brenda McMillan. She let me use her studio for last week's episode. I'm going to tell you guys some of my own personal ghost stories. So here's the thing. I'm going to just give the disclaimer up front. I believe in spirituality. I believe in good and evil. I believe in the other side. And I believe that ghosts or people or energy or spirits can come and communicate through various things. So, if you are a skeptic or you do not like to hear about this stuff, this might not be the episode for you because I do believe in ghost stuff. I have had my own personal experiences and I'm going to tell you guys all about those, but I don't want any hate. I don't want any negative comments about, they don't exist, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. This is the spooky episode, so get over yourself. So, anyways, like I said, if you don't like that, honestly, don't listen to this episode because it's not going to be the one for you. And I know that sounded a little harsh, but you know I love you guys and you know I just want to have a fun, spooky episode and I don't want to have to give a disclaimer. Each story I tell, I don't want to say I know I sound crazy because I believe in this stuff. So get on board with it and enjoy it or get off. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. Okay, you have been warned. It is time for the spooky stories from Riley Nelson. Okay, I'm gonna lower my voice a little bit, maybe make it sound a little more spooky. From a young age, I have always felt like I have had capabilities. I feel that I have some kind of sixth sense, if you will, to the other realm. I always have. I've always felt things and been very in tune with spirituality. Not only God, but also from some dark and scary things as well, which obviously kind of comes with it. I've had my aura read multiple times, and everybody says it's purple, which is honestly kind of slay and kind of on brand because obviously I'm a purple person. We know this. But, anyways, a purple aura means that you are sensitive to spirits and you are in tune and you have a high awareness. So, I'm going to tell you guys some of my stories. And I have had spooky stories and scary stories and ghost encounters since I can remember. I remember being a child and I remember sleeping in my old room in this house actually, and I remember always feeling like I was being watched. As a very young kid, I mean, I couldn't have been more than like 10, like anywhere from like 5 to 10. I remember being so afraid of my room and my closet, and obviously a lot of kids are. It's pretty common, but I used to say that people were watching me. And if my child said that to me, I would throw them to the curb. I'd say, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with that. But my mom, the saint that she is, used to always say, if you feel like someone's watching you, oh, it's just like a guardian angel coming to watch over you. And I remember as a kid, I would cry and I would feel so afraid and scared. I remember laying in bed and pulling the sheets over my head. I remember my heart pounding and I remember feeling afraid. And I didn't know why or how or what was happening, but I always used to cry and I never could sleep in that room because someone was watching me. And my mom used to always say, "Oh, it's just a family member, it's someone, whatever." And I remember she used to tell me to say, "If you're not here in the name of the Lord, I command you to leave." And God and Jesus will pull out that spirit if they're not there for good. And I remember laying in bed being so scared. And I used to say it over and over and over. If you're not here in the name of the Lord, I command you to leave. If you're not here in the name of the Lord, I command you to leave. If you're not here in the name of the Lord, I command you to leave. And as a kid, I would just say that over and over and over. And the feeling never went away. I used to see shadows in my closet and I used to see the door creak and move. And I always felt so afraid. I've had a lot of friends too back me up that my room was haunted. My mom and my parents to this day say that it's not. However, I don't believe it. I I have always felt so uncomfortable in that room. That feeling never went away, and it was dark and it was evil and it was not of the light. And I don't know why it wasn't working when I would say, if you're not here in the name of the Lord, I command you to leave. And I don't know. So that's kind of my earliest memory of having paranormal experiences. I had a friend who lived in a haunted house, and they used to. I remember there'd be times where we would be in the movie room and whatnot, and the mom would hear stomping above her room, and she'd come out and scream at us, and we'd be like, "We weren't there. We're not in that room. We're in the movie room." And doors creaking and closing and always just feeling like you're being watched. And we used to have this beach house, and this is where a majority of my personal experiences with ghosts um, stem from. So, this beach house was my grandparents'. It was in Port Aransas, Texas. It's outside of Corpus Christi, and it was some of the best times of my entire life. It was beautiful, the water occasionally, not always, I guess, but it was a lot better than Galveston. It's the best that you can get for a Texas beach. But we had this beautiful house. It was yellow, and it was right on the boardwalk to get through the dunes into the beach area. I remember it had this blue roof at the time, and this house, as far as we know, it was a new build. So there shouldn't have been anything scary, right? No, wrong. So, man, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start with this doll. Um, you guys, this doll was possessed. I'm not kidding. I don't know what took it over. I don't know when. I don't know how. But we used to have this doll in the house. I'm about to tell you what kind of doll it was, but I want to keep the dramatic, like spooky effect for a few more minutes before I tell you what kind of doll this was. So we have this doll, and it used to just move around. And the parents didn't know about it. They didn't know that we had this suspicion until later. But the doll used to move in places every now and then, like it would be like an arm in the wrong place, or it would just not be exactly where it was left. There'd be times where it was found in someone's bed, or it was found downstairs, or it was sitting on the table and it would just shift ever so slightly. And it used to go off in the middle of the night too. And here's where I'm going to tell you what kind of doll it was, because it's going to sound funny. But it was like our own little Annabelle doll, but it was a Woody doll. Yes, like Woody from Toy Story. And I don't want that image to discredit the stories I'm about to tell you, but this thing used to just move. We've seen it move a handful of times, and other times we would leave and we'd come back and it wouldn't be where it was left. But this doll used to go off in the middle of the night, and it used to say things like, "I love you. You got a friend in me. There's a snake in my boot," which that one is a little funny. I'll admit it. But this doll was so fucking haunted. There would be times when we would lock it up and it would just appear. There'd be other times where it'd be the middle of the night, everybody's dead asleep, and the doll would just go off in the room. We had a kid's room, and it had a bunch of bunk beds, and it had a TV. And the doll in the middle of the night just used to go off while everyone is asleep. And not just like, it would be at the witching hour, and it was just so random when this doll would go off, but it used to scare the heck out of us. So eventually, you know what we did? We said, "No more of this." And we chucked the ducky ball. Oh my God. We chucked the Woody doll off of the balcony of the beach house and into the sand dunes, never to be seen again. We thought that this would solve the issue of the ghosts at our beach house, and it did not. It actually made it quite worse. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So we threw the doll, and pretty soon after, things got weird. Doors would slam, things would creak. Obviously, houses make noise, but there's been times where the TV would turn itself on and off. And this was one of the TVs where it had to be connected to the VR or the VCR. Yeah, it had to be connected to the VCR. I'm kind of dating myself, I guess, right now. But we like I remember we used to have the tapes, and anyways. So whenever you turn the TV on, it would go static and it just go and it'd be black and white, and it just makes this really loud sound. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, because that bitch was fucking loud. But besides the point, the TV used to just turn on and off all the time. Nobody knew when, where, why, or how. It'd be the middle of the night and it would just turn on and off. And it would turn on really loud and wake everybody up. And in the time that it would turn on, we would feel fear. And not just because the TV is on or whatnot, but it was the fear of, I am not alone. We used to tell the parents about it all the time, but they never believed us. And one night we were standing outside, and all the cousins were on the balcony, and we're telling ghost stories, and we're actually swapping some of our own stories from the actual beach house. And while we do that, we get locked out. We don't know how. All the parents were downstairs, but we get locked out of the beach house, and we have to get the hose and bang on the door to get the parents' attention. My grandpa was pissed. He came screaming at us. He's like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And we're like, "We're locked out." But we actually don't know how we were locked out. Was it a ghost? Did one of the parents say, "I'm done with them"? I don't know. But anyways, there's another night where we are so let me do a little bit of explanation first. So there are 6 cousins. We're all women, and well, I guess at the time girls. And there are 3 older ones and 3 younger ones. So the older ones are Nicole, Madison, and me. We're the top 3 oldest. And then below that, it's me, or it's the 3 youngest are my sister Haley, and then the twins, Avery and Alexis. And I think the twins is going to be very important in this story. But so there's a night where the parents went out. They went to a nice dinner, and I believe they went to like a karaoke bar. All the adults were out of the house, and the cousins, the olders, were watching the youngers. I don't remember how old I was, but I was definitely older, like old enough to be home alone. And my cousin Nicole was probably like 15 or 16. Maddie was probably like 12 or something. I was probably about like, I have no idea. Actually, I couldn't even tell you what our ages were. But anyways, so the twins are pretty young, and Haley's pretty young. I'm like older. Anyways, so we're playing this game. It's called Piggy One Emotion, and it's a game that we used to play all the time as kids. Kala actually taught us the game. If you are a listener of This Hits Different, Kala is one of the guests that I've had on multiple times. So, anyways, Kala comes on the podcast, or hello. Kala teaches us this game, and it's basically hide and seek. But when you get caught, you get brought to the jail, which is usually like a couch or like somewhere in like the living area, the living space of the house. And the only way that you can get out, you have to yell "Piggy One Emotion," and whoever. So then you can choose as someone who has hidden to come out of your spot and wave at the person on the couch. And the only way for you to get out of the jail and off the couch or whatever your jail is to see somebody wave at you. And so we're playing this game, and it's really fun. We're giggling a lot. We're having a really good time. And we're playing Picky One Emotion, and it's getting kind of late. We've done a few rounds of it. I'm kind of over it, and I decide, okay, I'm done playing. I'm gonna just hang out on the couch and sit on my phone or do whatever I was doing at the time. I actually don't even know. And so they're playing Peggy One Emotion. I'm sitting on the couch. I watch as my cousin counts. So I see where everybody is going. This is important. I see everybody run in different directions. I know roughly where everybody is in the house. And my cousin finishes counting, and she goes to find everyone, and she's walking around, and you can hear the thuds of the floors. You can hear people running around. And my cousin comes back down. She's by me, and it's important to note the setup of the house. So we have the living room. I'm sitting on the big couch, which is like our big family couch. And there is a media room, or not like a media room, but it's like it goes to the TV that's in the living room. It's like this little closet, and in there is all the DVD players and discs and speaker system and all of the wiring system for the TV. We weren't really allowed in that room because there was so much technology at the time, and there was a lot of tech in that room, and they didn't want us to mess with it. So that room always gave us the heebie jeebies, but you can see it from the couch. So the door is cracked open enough to where like we can see it. I'm sitting on the edge of the couch, the door is open, and my cousin is searching downstairs. We start to see little shadows on the door. Like it's very clearly two people, and they look pretty small, at least from what we can tell, but we can see two heads on this door. We can see them moving and like kind of moving around, and it's actually the shadow of two people. And I go white as a ghost, and my cousin smirks because she's like, they're in there. Mind you, I have watched where everybody went. My cousin and I are watching these shadows on the door. We can see it happening. And I freeze. I fill with fear and panic. And I look at my cousin, eyes wide, saying, there is nobody in that closet. And Maddie was like, there's no way. Like, we can see them. And I said, Madison, there is nobody in that closet. So we freak out. We immediately turn on all the lights, and we literally spent the rest of the night sitting in the lights in the middle of the house. We called the parents home. Like Haley and the little ones were crying. I was shaking. Like, we saw two figures standing in this doorway. Like, we saw it with our own eyes, and nobody was there. I don't know. It was terrifying. There's another time when we used to hang out in the kids' room, and we were sleeping one night, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had to use the restroom. So I get up, and as I'm walking to the bathroom, I start to feel a little afraid, and I start to feel as if someone's watching me. And I'm feeling uneasy. But obviously, it's dark. It's the middle of the night. Like, as a kid, you get up and you're scared to go to the bathroom. It happens. But I walk to the bathroom, and I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I hear thuds coming up the stairs, like boom, 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 boom. Like someone is stomping up the stairs. Mind you, it's the middle of the night. Everybody is supposed to be asleep. And like full on like footsteps, like boom, 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 boom. And I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I can hear it. And I'm so afraid. I can't move. My body is frozen. I'm paralyzed with fear. And I hear the steps go down the hallway past me, Like they walk past the door and then they just stop. I never heard anything again that night, but something walked past me. Nobody, as far as I know, woke up. I didn't see anybody walk past the door as I heard the footsteps walking. I could hear them getting closer and I could hear them thudding to the door. So that was all at Port Aransas, and that was all at the beach house. Like I said, I do have some of the fondest memories there, and um, but that bitch was haunted. So another time, we're gonna flash forward to when I'm in college. I am I'm sitting in my dorm. I was kind of in my ghost era. It was probably around October, and um I was doing this ghost app. And I used to have this app on my phone. I had heard about it from a YouTuber. I used to love to watch scary YouTube stories of um like people's experiences and like ghost hunting and whatnot. Like I said, I've always been into the paranormal. And I had this app on my phone, and it was supposed to be like a radio frequency app to pick up and communicate with ghosts. So I used this app. And I used to use it just to kind of like scare my friends and whatnot. But there's been a few times where things were a little too close for comfort in terms of the things that the app said, where, it just seems like a stupid app on your phone. Like, how can it really work? But there were too many instances where it actually did. And I don't know. So, one of the times I was in Tennessee, and I was with my friend. We were at the park, and within this park, there was a plantation house. It was obviously not a a monument, but more of a historic reference. There was a lot of information on it. There's like plaques everywhere around this house, and kind of explaining what it was and, the tragedies that had happened there. And I remember being there with my friends, and I open up this app and I'm like, oh, like, let's get spooky and let's see what, if like there's any ghosts here. And I turn on the app and immediately it lights up, and it's kind of like this little radar thing that ticks around and ticks around and ticks around. And it will light up and there will be a little spot alleging that there is a ghost standing like in front, next to you, behind you, whatever it is. And then at the top, it'll say words, and then through your phone speaker, it'll actually speak out the word. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sounds terrifying when it does, because it sounds like a robot. Like it'll be like Claire, or like I don't know. It just has this weird. I don't know why I said Claire, but it'll have this weird like somber to it. Like it sounds really spooky, honestly. And anyway, so I pull up this app and I open it up, and it says plantation. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, that was weird, because I'm standing on former plantation grounds and I'm standing right next to the plantation house. Like, what? And it says like plantation, and it shows that there's like a ghost standing in front of me. And then I remember thinking like, weird. Maybe this isn't um maybe this isn't like a joke. Like it knew and it communicated that it was a former slave that had lived and worked on this plantation. And I had a conversation with it, and it was terrifying. Like it was too much for it to not be true, if that makes sense. Maybe the location services on my phone was on or whatnot, but I don't know. That's the only thing that would make it make sense. I have another story. I have a few stories actually using this app, because I'm guys, I'm like literally a ghost hunter. Like I love this stuff. But anyways, so this app goes off. It like says all that. I have a little conversation with a ghost. I close out and whatnot. Go about my life. I'm using this app again, and I was living on campus, and my friend and I were coming home from somewhere. I can't remember where, and we were standing in the parking garage, and Belmont University. Like I said, this is the South, but Belmont University used to be a plantation as well. There's underground tunnels all over the school's campus that used to be tunnels, not only leading from the bell tower to the house, but or like to the mansion, but to other areas. And it is pretty historic. Um, there's a lot of stories with the Belmont Mansion, and I'm going to talk about all of that on the Patreon episode. But so go subscribe. And anyways, so back to this story. So we're using it down in this in the parking lot, and our parking lots were underground, but it's important to note that our parking lots are located where the slave quarters used to be. And so I pull out the app and I'm trying to see, is there anything like, can we talk with anyone or whatever? Me and my friend are using it. Nothing's really happening. Guys, I'm like kind of spooked out right now. I'm spooking myself out. Okay, anyways. So we're using it and like nothing's happening. It's not really doing much. So we're like, okay, whatever. Like, let's just go back up to my room. So we walk up back to the dorms, and as we're walking down the hall, it says pants. And I was like, that's weird. And then it said naked, or it was either nude or naked. And I was like, and I remember saying to my friend as we were walking down the hall, oh, and then it said roommate, I think it said roommate pants naked. And I remember making a joke to my friend as we're walking down the hall to my room. And I remember looking at her and I said, watch, we're going to open the door. And my roommate's like getting dressed. Like, I'm going to have a heart attack if that happens. Sure enough, I open the door. My roommate is in the middle of putting on pants. I can't explain that one. That one was way too dead on the nose to try to even write off or explain. Like, how did it know that my roommate was getting dressed and changing? That one kind of freaked me out. And this is going to be the last story I have for you guys. The rest you're going to get on Patreon. I'm going to read some Reddit stories, and I'm going to read some spooky stories on the next episode on the Patreon. So make sure that you subscribe and go check it out. So my last story for you guys is actually one that involves me and my roommate. So I was in college at the time. It was freshman year. Like I said, I was really into, like I said, I was really into spooky stuff at this time. I was watching these YouTubers and like listening to these scary ghost encounters and whatnot. And I definitely feel like when I open that door, I am more susceptible to it. So I think that because I was so in tune and because I was watching so much dark content, it was starting to take root. And I was starting to feel and notice things more than I normally do. So this story, this is something that happened to me when I was a kid. I remember being at my aunt's house, and the twins were pretty young, but I was staying at my aunt's house, and I remember this hunchback like figure. And I remember seeing it, and it kind of just looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, honestly. Like, it's kind of a bizarre thing to describe. But anyways, it's this hunchback, and I've seen it, and I've seen the shadow. It's a hunchbacked man, and I've seen it run by multiple times in my life. Um, and it the first time I saw it, it ran across my aunt's backyard. And I saw like it was kind of more of just like a shadow and a figure, but it was so fast that it was hard for me to process, but I do remember very specifically that it was a hunchback man. And I ran to my aunt and I said, Cree, who's here? And she goes, nobody. And I said, no, I just saw a man in your backyard. And I explained to her what I saw, and she's like, no, no, like lawnmowers, nothing. Nobody's here. And I remember feeling uneasy and afraid, and like I was like, oh, like that's weird. I saw it again a second time when I was like in my like early teens. And then the last time I saw it, I was on campus at Belmont actually. And I saw it run by. I saw the shadow again and I saw everything. And it was kind of that moment of I froze. And I'm telling my roommate about it. And she just goes white. And she goes, I've seen this too. And I said, no, you haven't. She goes, yes, it's like a hunchback man. You see it super fast and it's running and like you can kind of see the figure, but you mostly can see the shadow. And she like nailed it on the head. And I was like, yeah, that's so weird that you see that too. And then she comes to me a few days later and she goes, I was just talking to my friend and I was telling him about the hunchback figure that we've seen. And she goes, I've seen that too. So now 3 people have seen the exact same thing at various times in their life. Like I said, I felt uneasy and I felt nervous and afraid when I saw it. I think as most people would whenever you see something and you know that you're home alone. And I feel, and my roommate said this too, that it is a demonic presence. And I know that that sounds scary. I do not like to invite dark things like that. I believe in good and I believe in purity and light. However, I can't be a Christian and not acknowledge that there are bad things too. And there's been times in my life when I feel that I am really close to God, that the devil intentionally tries to make me afraid and feel fear to leave my faith and to rock me in my faith. I've had times where I just paralyze with fear because I know that something evil is watching me. I've always had things like this happen, but I want to finish this episode on a very light note. So I'm going to tell you guys about the time that I got to reconnect with my great grandmother. So, um, the last few stories were a little dark, they were a little demonic, and they were a little scary. And I don't like talking about the dark stuff because I don't want to bring attention to it. So I want to finish this episode off on a very high and happy and good note. So this last story I'm going to tell you guys is about the time that I saw my great grandma, and I got to speak with her. And um, yeah, let me backtrack that a little bit. I just realized I said I saw my grandma. I did not physically see my great grandma. Let me make that very clear. Um, so my great grandma um passed away. I think it was back in 2020 or 2021. COVID laws were still really strict. And my great grandma lives in Australia, which is why I really want to go. Want to like explore my roots a little bit more. But anyways, I was the first grandchild on that side of the family. So I was a really big deal. But I got to meet my great grandma and have a relationship with her for most of my childhood, actually. She used to stay at my grandmother's house, and I used to stay there all the time. My grandma used to watch me when my mom was a flight attendant and was away at work. Oh, so, anyways, my grandma and my great grandma used to watch me, and I'm the firstborn. I had a really special bond with my great grandma. Um, we have a lot of very similar characteristics and qualities, so I've always just felt really connected to her. And when she passed, it was really sad, but she had had Alzheimer's for, I mean, close to probably about like 15, if not 20 years. And it was so severe. By the time she passed, it really felt like it was mercy because she was so ill for so long. Um, so when she passed, it wasn't necessarily a sad death because she had been struggling and, fighting her own mind for decades. And when she passed, there was a little bit of a relief that her suffering and her pain was gone. On my 21st birthday, I was laying in bed and I all of a sudden, out loud, for no reason, no control over my body, literally nothing. I'm laying in bed and I just go, "Hi, Gran." And I literally stop. I freeze and I go, "What the hell? Like, why did I just say that out loud?" Like, it was so bizarre. I was just laying in bed about to go to sleep for my 21st birthday. I think it had like just turned midnight or was a few minutes past, and I just out of the blue said, "Hi, Gran." Like, she came to visit me on my 21st birthday. And all of a sudden, I get this feeling and this wave of pure happiness and joy and warmth and light. And I can't explain the feeling other than it felt like a warm hug and like a weighted blanket. Like, I felt so blissful in this moment. And I just felt that my grandmother, my great grandmother, was with me. And she came to say hi and came to tell me happy birthday and let it be known that I'm not alone and that she's with me always. And it was such a beautiful moment. I remember, like, I said it out loud. I got this rush and this feeling of happiness and pure just bliss and joy. And it felt warm. And I remember looking in the corner of the room and I just knew that she was there. I couldn't see her, I couldn't hear her, but I remember looking and I was like, "You came to visit me." Like, it was such a beautiful moment. I have so many more stories like this if this is something you guys like. Um Maybe I'll make a part 2, or maybe I'll save it for next year's edition of the spooky episode of This It's Different. I don't know. But so that's all I have for you guys today of my personal spooky stories. And you can go check out the Patreon. I will be reading spooky stories from Reddit and from the internet. It's really going to be a fun one. Go join the Patreon. Like I said, it's under $5 a month. So you get a lot more content. You'll get ad-free access. We got group chats going. So get involved with the community. We are building something here, guys. Join and let's chat, let's talk, and let's connect. Because at the end of the day, that's what we are here to do. So, thank you guys for this episode. I hope that thank you guys for watching and listening this episode. If you didn't know already, the video is available on Spotify and on YouTube. However, you can also find the podcast on any platform that you listen to podcasts. Shout out to Megaphone. I just put in the video, I put in the feed, and it distributes it to everywhere. So, as you guys know, you can find me at you guys can find me at This Hits Different Podcast. You can also go to the website at www.thishitsdifferentpodcast, and you can find my personal accounts at Hosted by Riley Nelson, and that is on every single platform. So any platform at Hosted by Riley Nelson, that's where you'll find me. Guys, go listen to the podcast, go listen to other episodes. If you're new here, welcome. But happy Halloween, and I hope you guys have a fun and safe Halloween. And send me some of your own personal spooky stories. Maybe I'll read it on the Patreon. Bye, guys.